money.
And Honorable Speaker, sir, these laws were made during colonial periods because they were supposed to curtail the movement of Africans. But they have found their way to this era. We have to relook at those laws. And it is my view, and it is our view as the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, that there are many laws that we should decriminalize. So the Kenya Law Reform Commission is working on it. And if confirmed as the Attorney General, I will put that as an initiative. About the trade agreements, I'm not seized of the matter, so I'll not be able to know or juxtapose the facts and the law to know where the challenge is. The person who's been in custody for 10 years, unfortunately, Honorable Speaker, sir, I'm the one who spearheaded the Transfer of Prisoners Act, and I know the requirements under the Act. So we have the Act, but we are required to have the
her performance in the offices she was. I heard her talk about Toti. They said Toti as a charge. Did she mean to say that...
touting, you mean?
Touting.
Yes.
Did she mean to say that the office of ODPP has suggested that touting should not be charged? Or I thought I had maybe just a clarification.
Honorable Speaker, sir, and honorable members, when a prosecutor is making a decision to charge, apart from sufficiency of evidence, apart from passing the public interest test, and apart from knowing that there is a reasonable prospect of conviction, we are supposed to consider whether the punishment is meaningful, whether it is serving the administration of justice. Touting is an unmoved crime, where you just make noise at a bus stop. We fill our jails with these people. We think that there is a mechanism because the Matatu started having circles. So the Director of Public Prosecutions directed that we could divert those cases to circles to deal with. And I think the Director of Public Prosecutions is allowed under the law to divert cases that should not go through the system. And I repeat again that not all cases where there is evidence, there should be prosecution.
That is correct. Now, nominee, let me start from there. In the old days, local authorities that have been succeeded by county governments used to have local codes for dealing with minor things like nuisance, licensing, and so on. And many of them used to help generate revenue, but also did not carry custodial penalties at every level. To decongest the clog of work at the ODPP, I know it's an independent office, but you are the principal legal advisor to the entire government. Would you consider looking at the possibility of decongesting the mainstream courts and the ODPP by giving some limited role of counties to deal with cases of licensing, nuisance, what the touts you are talking about, the most you can charge them is public nuisance, and all those that can be dealt with without attracting custodial penalties. Secondly, the point raised by Russell, I have been advised, and I believe it to be true, that in our neighbor, Tanzania, the Office of the Attorney General is a big law firm. You advise the government, but you also assist the people, especially in cases where citizens are engaged in a legal tussle without involving the state. So the Attorney General's office will have no dog in that fight. Would you consider a situation where you revamp the Office of the Attorney General, have branches in counties, and assist wananchi who have issues against each other. Somebody comes to the AG's office, some Bwenyenye somewhere is dispossessing them of their land, and your lawyers help to defend them at nominal fees, instead of leaving them to the vagaries of very expensive legal practitioners and so on and so forth. Thirdly, the Office of Public Trustee that Mule talked about is a very important office. When we talk about the Attorney General, you can see we have concentrated on prosecutions and all those other things. The Office of Public Trustee is critical in helping the poor, the weak in society, who are routinely dispossessed of their inheritance by those who have capacity and money because they cannot afford to have legal representation. Some of them go to chiefs. Chiefs also have their own weaknesses, and so on and so forth. How will you revamp the Office of the Public Trustee to be able to help, one, proper communication to the public, that you exist, and what you can do so that people know where you are, who you are, and how to come to you for assistance, so that they can be able to deal with their inheritance issues. Thirdly, it may be a comment or a question. One of the issues, nominee, that you'll have to also address is the complex agreements and contracts that the government enters. You remember the mega scams in this country, Anglo leasing, Goldenberg, name it. When the suspects go to court, their defense is always the Attorney General approved, the Attorney General advised, the Attorney General signed. And the country ends up losing billions and billions of shillings. And because of the manner in which the Attorney General either advised or signed or approved, the criminals who have frisked money from the coffers of the public go scot-free. What are you going to do differently if you are approved that will help save the country in this regard? Because every single government transaction ends up on the Attorney General's desk for approval or for opinion. Will you have the time, if you are approved, to have sufficient capacity? On alone, you can't do it. You must have good lawyers. The Office of the Attorney General is notorious for not paying well to its lawyers. And that's why many of the lawyers start there, and eventually they scatter into private practice. What will you do to attract the best within the market and do the best for the country? Yes, Russell.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Just a quick one. Company X, I'm just withholding the name because this is specific, is having a fraud case that has been lying at the ODPP's office for 4 years without anyone taken to court. The company is now under liquidation. What is the comment of the nominee? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Respond to those. Let her finish that first.
The first question was whether the DPP would be minded to cede some of his powers to courts, to county courts, to deal with minor offenses.
You don't even cede power, you delegate. That's not ceding.
Honorable Speaker, sir, and honorable members of this committee, the ODPP has come up with delegated prosecution guidelines where we delegate to other agencies prosecution mandate.
Make it public, make it known.
That is correct. We'll make it public, we'll make it known. I will, if approved, I will consult with other actors and see whether that is one of the avenues that can be employed. Yes. The Office of the Attorney General is supposed to be the lawyer for the people. And in fact, that is why I talked about National Legal Aid Services. It has to be operationalized. And it is targeting indigent people, the vulnerable people. So if that is operationalized, we will need council to implement. If approved, I vision the Office of the Attorney General that is represented in all the 47 counties and in all the court stations, that is accessible, that is available, that can give legal advice to all Kenyans when and at a place that is required. I had already spoken about the public trustee. I understand. If approved to this position, that is one of the areas that we'll have to work on very fast, but already Cabinet has ordered that the services of the Office of the Attorney General must be taken to the counties, and they're working on it. About complex agreements and contracts, if you find favor with me, I think this is one area where the Attorney General must consult with Cabinet to agree that there has to be standards on how contracts are drafted. There has to be a central place which ensures quality assurance, because what we talk about here is a matter of quality, not quantity. There is a need that every public officer who acts on behalf of government is acting in the public interest and in the interest of administration of justice. So there is a need of a mechanism that ensures quality and then ensures that the decision-making or the regulation that is superintending contract agreements and complex contracts and agreements is known by all MDAs, is adhered to, is monitored, and in case of violation, appropriate action is taken.
One or two more before I give to Mary. Somebody from says, good afternoon. Please ask the nominee for AG to explain how she'll help poor people who lost money through pyramid schemes, commonly known as DECI, when the government collected the money through unclaimed assets. Note that. A senior citizen called Sammy Louis says, there is a 64-page document that was compiled jointly by the Minister of Devolution and Planning and Council of Governors in 2016 County Public Participation Guidelines, which could be of help to the Attorney General nominee in clarifying what public participation should entail. I'll give you one more. Ask the AG nominee whether she envisions a criminal justice system where all parties have adequate legal representation in cases where accused parties don't have lawyers. Is it possible to have a public defender? I think this you have talked about. Ask the AG nominee if she has plans of having Kenya Sign Language interpreters at the State Law Office to serve the deaf. And lastly, that is a compliment to the committee, not to you. And lastly, somebody has sent a message that the recent protests by the Gen Z brought to question the issue of realization of the right to picket vis-a-vis the role of security organs to enforce order. What, in your view, should be done to ensure the realization of the right to picket and maintenance of public order? Can you respond to those? Mary, you'll then come in.
Thank you, Honorable Speakers and Honorable Members. I had been asked a question about a matter that has been pending in the office of the DPP for 4 years. I'm not seized of the matter, so I will not be able to respond. How the Office of the Attorney General would help poor people who have lost money. Honorable Speaker, sir, and honorable members, I talked about the Asset Recovery Agency. One of the mandate of the Asset Recovery Agency is to recover monies that are tainted from criminals, even if they are not prosecuted. This is an area that the Attorney General, if confirmed, should work together with the Director of Public Prosecutions and investigative agencies. If these cases are not viable through the through prosecution system, then they have to be dealt with through civil asset forfeiture and confiscation, and we'll consider that. About the 64-page document, it can be sent, if approved, it will be sent to us.
You will look for it.
I will look for it, sir.
Yeah.
Criminal justice sector where all parties. Honorable Speaker, sir.
It's the same thing we talked about.
Yes, yes.
Growing your office to a big public law firm.
Yes, sir.
Supporting not only the government, but the people of the country as well.
Yes, sir.
Whatever departments you call it, but people need help.
That is true, sir. I totally agree. About protest by the Gen Z, about Kenya Sign Language, I'd spoken about a requirement or an attribute of the rule of law that requires that laws must be available, accessible, in a language and in a manner that is accessible to the people. And sign language is one of such manners, one of such languages that the law should be available. So I think this is an area to consider.
The last issue that I mentioned about picketing and so on,
yes.
Constitutional right.
Yes.
If you go to a country like UK,
yes.
there are demonstrations every single day.
Yes.
But they have designated areas. If you go to UN, I'm sure you have gone to the UN to attend meetings. Just across the street near the Trump Tower and other buildings there, there's a place there where people stand there, shout at presidents of countries they don't like, and do all sorts of things the whole day without disrupting law and order. And they end up going home. In the UK, you go to Hyde Park, insult the Prime Minister, insult everybody, say your obscenities, you finish, you go home. And nobody bothers. You go to the House of Commons, across the road you find a group of people demonstrating, displaying placards. Work is going on. As Attorney General, how do you, by law and public awareness and communication, assist the country that those who want to demonstrate and make their views known have the right to do so, but they have no right to disrupt the life cycle of others? We should not have a situation where, because I want to demonstrate, you have to close your shop. Because I want to demonstrate, you have to close your school. Because I want to demonstrate, you have to abandon your work and go home early, or not leave your house at all. Demonstrations are not supposed to be nightmares. There are processes of people actively and openly expressing their views. As Attorney General, what's your view on this?
Honorable Speakers and members, Honorable Speaker, you have assisted me in answering that question. Communication and public awareness, both to the law enforcement agencies and to the citizen. I know that should there be a public demonstration, when you commit a criminal offense, you take individual responsibility for your action. Therefore, picketing and committing criminal offenses is different. But I agree that there is a need for clarification, public awareness, and sensitization on the parameters of exercising those rights under the Constitution, since they don't fall under those rights that cannot be derogated. Thanks.
Yes, Madam Master.
Chairman, I want to ask a question that has been sent to me by a Kenyan. Honorable nominee, the question is, considering the tragic events that unfolded in Shakahola, which highlighted the dangerous influence of unchecked religious cults, what specific legal framework do you propose to regulate religious organizations without infringing on constitutional freedoms? How do you intend to ensure that such regulations are enforced effectively across all religions, including remote areas where oversight is often lacking? And the second one is on registration of companies. This Kenyan is saying Given the current bureaucratic delays and regulatory challenges in the registration of both foreign and local companies in Kenya, which hinder economic growth and deter foreign investment, what comprehensive reforms do you plan to implement to streamline this process? How will you ensure that these reforms reduce the timelines and enhance transparency without compromising the integrity of the registration process? Thank you.
Yes, nominee, can you answer those and those with the last? I don't want any other member to raise your hands.
Honorable Speaker, sir, about business registration, if confirmed, then it would be my responsibility to re-engineer the processes and procedures in that department to make sure that it provides timely, efficient services to the public. Appearing before you today, I'm not seized with the challenges that they face, so I'm not able to say exactly how I will respond, but it will be one of the things that we shall review and look at wholly. The other question was on remind me of the first question, sir.
From Mary.
From the Kenyan.
Yes,
and the regulation of religious leader. Yeah.
Honorable Speaker, sir, and honorable members of this committee, I am aware, like any other Kenyans, that there was a task force and they have presented their report to the President. If confirmed to this position, I'm sure I'll be part of the public officers that will be given responsibility to implement the recommendations of that report. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, nominee. We're coming to the end of our engagement with you. I'll ask you one or two final questions. Have you ever been adversely mentioned in any integrity-related report or investigations?
No, sir.
Do you hold any leadership position in any political party within Kenya?
No, sir.
Do you hold citizenship of any other country other than Kenya?
No, sir.
What is your net worth in terms of personal fortune?
Honorable Speaker, sir, my family net worth, because since my late husband died, we have not distributed amongst my children. So the total family worth is 85 million.
85 million. Made of?
I have I have an OGW, Order of the Grand Warrior of Kenya, EBS, Elder.
What is the 85 million is
made of?
Made of? Is it cars? Is it land?
Part of it is land.
Is it houses?
It is land.
Is it shares? Cash in the bank?
It is land. It is house. It is houses, and a car.
And a car. Thank you. There are people who send in memorandum against you. One called Eliud Karanja Matindi, Dennis Kangeti Itui, Charles Idaho. But we find the memorandum they have sent against you all irrelevant to your being considered for suitability. That's one that came through questions and you responded, and you also wrote to us about it. So we come to an end of our engagement, and we wish you well.
Honorable Speaker, I had something to say.
Yes or no? We checked your documents against what we have on you.
Yes.
We found them to be in order. You're saying something?
Yes, Honorable Speaker, sir. I wanted to say that in considering me to this position, I am an alumni of the inaugural and highest level leadership program of national transformation that is offered by the Kenya School of Government. It is a new program which is thoughtfully designed to develop the competencies of higher level public officials to formulate innovative policies and strategies that should culminate in the transformation of our country into developed, industrialized nation akin to the newly industrialized economies. This program, just like its predecessor course SLDP and SMC, is meant to imbue patriotism, commitment to upholding and stewarding the common good of society, and unwavering obligation to steer evidence-based transformation in our varied leadership position. I am in the first cohort of that program, and we are only 7.
What is the name of that course, the title of the course?
It's called Leadership Program for National Transformation Program.
Okay.
It is the highest course offered by Kenya School of Government. I'm in the first cohort. We are only 7, including 1 minister from Somali. And it is a course that all of us should consider, because if you go through that course, it impacts your leadership skills. Honorable Speaker, sir, let me thank you for listening to me. And Honorable Speaker, sir, from what I have said, it is clear that I've been favored and graced. This country has done a lot to me, and I think I owe the country service. Thank you.
Thank you, nominee Dorcas Oduor. We've come to the end of this interaction, and unless you are otherwise lawfully held, you are discharged to go back to your duties.
Thank you.
Sergeant, you get first the documents of the nominee and give them back to her. Then assist the nominee to escort her back to, and I see you're armed with Tom Onyango. Senior lawyer, senior to you, but junior to me.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Honorable members, we got an accolade from a gentleman called Linus Kaikai, which you all know. He says, very well done. You are more judge here than speaker. I must say you are running such a just and fair court. That is not my compliment, it's for all of you. Yes. Honorable members, we'll now adjourn. This is the end of today's engagement. We will, the clerk has some lunch for you. The fourth estate members, you are invited. You'll be told where to have the lunch. You will meet, honorable members, in this chamber on Tuesday at 8. Tuesday at 8, but because of traffic and other things, I prefer to invite you for breakfast at 7, then at 8 we come here for the meeting, so that you don't say you are caught up in the traffic. Breakfast will be served at 7. We can all do breakfast, then come here to look at the draft report. If we find it appropriate and reflective of what we have gone through, then we prepare Tuesday afternoon, we table the report, and the rest will follow. Yes, Mary?
Honorable Speaker, I was going to suggest, since we only have 2 nominees, the media would have excused us and the staff. We make the decision and we leave our secretariat to go write the report. We just come and adopt.
No. We will only act on the basis of a draft report from the secretariat.
I stand guided.
We have not draft report before us.
This is not Teso South.
And we don't want to create an impression that we came here with preconceived decisions. So, go for lunch.
ukitaka kupata sikiza tune ya atafanya kitu ya Zabloni Singers, tafadhali bonyeza *860 *286 hash. Kumbuka sikiza na Citizen ni nyumbani kwa wasanii wote.
Bongono na almano kenti danti hotel kai wanji bia peji mano ko riwoyo ko dana bibi joka ki woyo ko da dier gi ngutu moro machalo ngutu tegano bibi nja dier
Okonyal rito mondo wadhi kodi wuoth mopongi mo. Fweny sigendni mabeyo miwuoro. Tugo tuke mabeyo. Rom gi osiepe manyien.